Bill Villa joining me. We want to pick up where he left off yesterday. We're talking about his concerns that Lehigh County is weak, if not worse, on DUI homicides. And Bill Villa, by the way, if you don't realize it, also has testified. He's been invited twice so far, at least, by the Office of Victim Advocates in Harrisburg to share his story with the graduating class of Pennsylvania parole agents at their training academy in Elizabethtown, and he hopes to do that on a recurring basis because he feels like, he lost his daughter to a DUI offender and a DUI homicide offender, and his passion is that he wants to see the DA in Lehigh County be tougher on it and be more passionate about it. I have a story here.
Good morning, Bob.
Good morning, Bill. I have a story here, Bill, from a guy in a DUI crash. A 64-year-old man facing homicide by vehicle and DUI charges after police say his car collided with a motorcycle, killing the motorcyclist. This is in Bedminster Township, Pennsylvania, which I believe is Bucks County. The crash happened about him Saturday. Boom, boom, boom. He's already been charged with a DUI homicide.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And the crash happened on, again, 10/20 Saturday night.
Right, yeah.
He was charged, as of this writing, yesterday. Well, I don't know when he was charged. The story came out yesterday, Monday.
Yeah. Well, some DAs take DUI homicide very seriously. I know over in Northampton County, District Attorney Morgan Alley does. He and I spoke extensively about it, and he routinely gets DUI killers charged within 5 to 6 business days. In Lehigh County, 180 degrees. It'll take Jim Martin months. I've seen it take up to a year or longer to arrest and file charges against someone who kills someone driving drunk. And in the meantime, that person is free and they're still driving. So
free and still driving?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I mean, until you're charged, you're free.
Wow. Weren't you telling me yesterday? And I can't keep everything straight.
I have a hard time myself sometimes.
Weren't you telling me yesterday about a guy who got arrested, then went out and got another DUI?
Yeah, yesterday. Yesterday we were talking about the Chris Squires DUI homicide case. Chris killed his friend Zach Money driving drunk. And
then after they got the family to agree to some sort of a plea, they find out that, oh, by the way, he's been charged with another.
They did kind of a shell game with, when they agreed to drop the charges. But ultimately, the district attorney's office lied and blamed, erroneously, Lehigh Valley Hospital with screwing up the paperwork on the chain of custody of the blood evidence, and use that as the excuse to the grieving family the night before trial for their reason to have to drop the charges. Very dirty pool.
So yesterday I wanted to get on and you say what's going on? Why do you have him on? Because again, I feel like we need to make people aware that not just your state legislators, not just your school board, not just necessarily your county, not every one of them, but you know what I'm talking about. Those certain bodies of government where they don't seem to have your best interest at heart, where they say they're public servants, but they're anything but. Well,
right,
it's not just there. It's happening in, and not just Lehigh County. Now, your issue is with Lehigh County specifically.
It's
but
where I live and vote.
Yeah, and it's where I've had it. But I've had tons of feedback from people in other counties, not Northampton County, but other counties, Susquehanna, Lackawanna, to name a few.
Sure,
Luzerne
Jim
County.
Martin's not the only crooked and incompetent DA.
Now, you're saying he's crooked, and you keep saying that, and I keep...
well, I've brought up numerous instances of favoritism. And when I say crooked, that's what I mean. He plays favorites. In the Chris Squires case, Jim Martin's longtime friends with the defendant's grandfather.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, I know that. And the reason I know that is because my family is longtime friends with that same family. They're a good family. The grandfather was at my father's viewing. I mean, I have nothing against the Squires family for taking a favor from Jim Martin. I have a problem with Jim Martin giving the favors. and justice for all? Not really. People in the club get different justice in Lehigh County. That's my beef.
Okay. So one of the things I wanted to pick up with yesterday was you were going down a list of things that people need to be aware of. Like, you don't assume that whatever the crime might be, don't assume that the government, whoever they are, whether it's the police department or the DA's office or a judge, is going to do what's best for you. They may be doing what's best to get rid of an overcrowded
It could be
docket.
favoritism. It could be expediency. It could be laziness. It could be overworked. I mean, that happens too. The best advice I got when they were wheeling my daughter from the neurotrauma unit at Lehigh Valley Hospital upstairs to harvest her organs for organ donation, and she did save quite a few people's lives by doing that, Sheena. And one of the assistant coroners, Andy Kem, said to me, because I said, well, what do I do now? He said, be proactive, do your homework, be present and persistent. And that's what I did. And by being present, let them know you're watching. Okay? A big thing is challenge the charges. Challenge the charges. I did my homework and realized that the guy who killed my daughter Sheena could and should have been charged with third-degree murder. So I was really proactive on that. I was persistent on it. I was present all the time, clamoring for that charge. We didn't get it, but here's the thing. In the days and weeks after Robert LeBar killed my daughter Sheena, he was telling his friends he was going to get weekend jail and house arrest. And considering his father is Don LeBar, a partner in Gross McGinley law firm who's in real tight with the district attorney's office, and they also represent the Morning Call, I have no doubt that he would have gotten a weekend jail and house arrest. Instead, he served more than 5.5 years in the state penitentiary. So this was a huge win for us. No, we didn't get the third-degree murder charge and the 12.5 to 25 years that tends to go along with that. But he sat in a state prison for a little longer than 5.5 years.
All right, so
that was a big win for us.
Again, we're trying to help people that are going through the system about whatever the case might be.
Yeah, challenge the charges and watch for them getting dropped, because it's not unusual in Lehigh County for Mr. Martin to, make a big show of charging a lot of charges, but most of them get dropped. In the Chris Squires case, 9 of the 14 charges were dropped.
All right, so this is for advice for victims, because the perpetrators will have their lawyer challenging the charges, being proactive, being persistent.
But if you're a crime victim, your lawyer is the district attorney's office.
But he's not, because as you were told, I'm not here to represent you. I'm here to represent the Commonwealth.
But that's all you have. So
you are allowed to hire someone else, and they can still advocate. Because sometimes you have. It depends on how much it matters to you about the people, getting justice. Sometimes a lawyer is what you might have to do, is hire a lawyer to then confront the DA. If you're not good at confrontation,
don't hire a lawyer from Lehigh County, especially if you're doing civil litigation.
Why is that?
Get a lawyer from Philly. Because all the law firms in town here contribute to the district attorney. They're all really tied in together. We sued J.P. O'Malley's. They've been closed ever since May 2009 because of that. And Robert LeBar. And here's another bit of advice. Challenge the judge. Judge Black was originally assigned to be the judge in our civil litigation. I did a little homework and found out that he sat on a couple different boards long term with Robert LeBar's mother, who has been in Lehigh Valley Mental Health Services for many years. So here's Judge Black, with a fairly intimate relationship with, my daughter's killer's mother. Now, you would expect he would have recused himself. He didn't.
So you had to ask for
Well, I was present and persistent. I contacted him. And I said, Judge Black, I'm aware of your relationship with Robert LeBar's mother, sitting on different boards. I'm asking you, are you able to be impartial?
And what did he say?
Well, he immediately called my Philly attorney, screaming bloody freaking murder, saying, how dare your client question me? But
did you call him directly, or did you...
I emailed him.
Oh.
But he recused himself the next day.
Well, at least he did the right thing.
Well, he had to be persuaded, questioned, probed. I mean, would he have done that on his own had I not contacted him? I don't think so. And could that civil litigation have turned out differently? Could have.
So some other things they need to do. Victims need to challenge the charges, challenge the judge.
Yeah.
Be proactive, be persistent.
Do your homework.
Yeah. That was the other thing. It was do your homework.
Here's another big one. And then there's a website.
Well, okay, go ahead.
Write this down. The Pennsylvania Unified Judicial System. If you Google that, PA Unified Judicial System.
Yeah.
You can go to that website. You can punch in Lehigh County, and you can get the criminal docket of the perpetrator, of your perpetrator. And this is where you will find out a lot of what you need to know. You won't hear it from the DA's office.
PA Unified Judicial System?
Yeah, Pennsylvania Unified Judicial System. I mean, like, for instance, as recently as 2012, I looked up Robert Labar's criminal docket. He's the guy who killed my daughter Sheena. And I saw that, they're having a restitution hearing in front of Judge Steinberg. They didn't invite
you.
They didn't invite me. I mean, it was a restitution hearing having to do with monies that Robert Labar was mandated by the court to pay us, Sheena's deathbed hospital bill, basically. So they convened a restitution hearing, and Pat Riley from Gross McGinley's there representing Bobby Labar, and the DA's office is there. They never notified the estate of Sheena Villa to be there.
Wow, why wouldn't they do that?
Why wouldn't they? Well, it was on a Monday, so I waited until like 3:30 on a Friday, and I called Jim Martin's office and said, "By the way, see you Monday morning." And we showed up.
You got a hold of him?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Well, not directly, but. Yeah.
Wow. So
yeah,
all right.
That's also where you find out when, like, say, for instance, a guilty plea hearing is scheduled. I mentioned this before. Another way that they play with these cases, fix them, is they won't tell you when the guilty plea hearing is. That's what they did to us. They made a plea deal with Robert Labar and his family, and they convened a court hearing. And they didn't tell us about it.
All right.
Thankfully, we got an anonymous phone call, and we were there. So if you go to this website, you can see those dates.
Are they required to put this on there?
They might be, I guess, because they do. But
so what happens if they don't put it on, and you're relying on this system, on this website, and then you miss a case? So you need to also, besides doing this, you're going to have to call down there. They have an obligation to tell you the truth of the DA's office. Are there any hearings coming up?
If you pester them, yeah. If you're present. And you're persistent, yeah.
Okay, so challenge the charges,
but
the judge.
We weren't invited to the guilty plea hearing, and we weren't invited to the restitution hearing.
Wow. Mm-hmm. Victims challenge the charges, challenge the judge, double-check often the Pennsylvania Unified Judicial System website, be present, be persistent, be proactive, collect any evidence you can. If you need to, hire your own attorney, hire your own detective if you need to, because, again, in the one case we were talking about yesterday, the Joe Hennessy case where he was killed by a drunk driver, they didn't collect the black box from the drunk driver's vehicle. Why not? So you gotta be on that all the times, and you would think, well, isn't that somebody else's job? That's the problem. You're relying on people that don't necessarily have your best interest at heart. Some of them may be. Some of them may be really sincere and passionate about what they do.
Some of them are. The policeman who did the crash reconstruction in Sheena's death was just a gem of a guy,
right.
A really good cop who was advocating for the crime victims. and as I mentioned yesterday,
that's crazy.
Gave us information that he said, I'm going to get in big trouble for telling you this. The crash speed, 85 miles an hour.
On Broadway Street in Allentown.
Parkway Boulevard.
Parkway Boulevard.
So, no, there's some, and that's another thing to do, too.
I got to take a break here, but go ahead quickly. Go ahead.
Connect. Make connections. I mean, like, for instance, I established a really good relationship with the policeman who did the crash reconstruction on Sheena's death, and it paid off.
All right, got to take a break. More, because this is stuff we think we got all this stuff going on in the news, but there's stuff that hits you closer to home. And here's the thing: when it's you and you alone, this happens thousands of times every year in Pennsylvania. But unfortunately, everybody's up in arms, for example, about the IRS scandal, because it's happening to us collectively. Everyone's up in arms about immigration because it's happening to us collectively. It's where they get you individually, where you're alone, and you think this is only happening to you, and it's not. It happens across Pennsylvania and across this country all the time, and we're making you aware of that and giving you the tools to fight it, because this is how they can get you, one at a time. They can't get you as a group. They can only get you one at a time. You
can beat them one at a time, too. One person.
But you got to have the tools, and you got to have the persistence, you got to have the guts.
Yeah, I mean, we had a big win against them. We were up against a big, powerful, blue blood, crony-connected system with Gross McGinley, Jim Martin, and the Morning Call, and we beat them at every turn.
Got to take a break. News Radio 790 WAEB.
Customers. Did you know you can advertise on our station and our website in exchange for gift cards for your restaurant? No cash, just an even swap. To participate, go to 790WAEB.com. Keywords, no cash.
By the way, tomorrow at this time, John Brinson talking about Lois Lerner, Director of Criminal Activities, Obamacare and the can of worms, all the stuff that's getting on the back burner because of immigration, and the cancer of radical Islam and more with John Brinson tomorrow at this time. Bill Villa wrapping things up. We've got about 4 minutes left here. You said I want to conclude with one more thing to do and then shine the spotlight on the case that's on today. But go ahead. What's the one more thing?
Well, there's actually a lot of things you can do. And, I mean, as time goes on, we can certainly talk more about the tactical things. But today I did want to cover some of the big picture things that you can do if you're a crime victim and you are trying to get the perpetrator prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law. And, you hear that phrase, we prosecute to the fullest extent of the law. That's not how it works. Actually, they go for the lowest possible charge.
They might throw a ton of charges at them, and then they'll
drop the rest of them.
Right, because they want to compromise.
Well, what they want is the easiest way to a plea deal or conviction.
So they can say they got to win.
Right, so you set the bar really low. So you're thinking, prosecute to the fullest extent of the law. Oh, well, in my case, that would be third-degree murder. No, they're going for, the easiest thing they can get a plea deal. That's what they do in Lehigh County. But another thing that you can do is go public, okay? Out their secrets. And I'm talking about social media, Facebook, blogosphere. I have a website, Lehigh Valley Somebody, where I put the truthful version, the factual version of what's really going on out there, okay? Is it reaching millions of people? No. But you know who's reading it? I have a site meter, LehighCounty.org, Tribune Company Morning Call, City of Allentown. So in other words, the people who are trying to screw you know that you have their number and know that you are putting it out there for other people to see it. I've gotten, tons of support, social media, through my website, Lehigh Valley Somebody. So it's good for them to know that not only are you watching them, but you're telling others about them.
All right. Now, 2 minutes. Is there one case you want to shine the light on, you said today?
Yeah, the James W. Lauer case. There's a status conference taking place in front of Judge Bannock as we speak. James W. Lauer is the guy who T-boned a van with a pregnant wife and 2 children who were ejected onto the street. Remember of his fourth DUI, his second interlock violation, fled the scene last time. This is the guy who, when he was in Lehigh County Prison doing time for his third DUI, they gave him an afternoon furlough to go to his son's wedding. So we've been hoping to put a spotlight on this case. If anybody deserves a maximum sentence, it would be this guy.
Now, these kids were not killed, thankfully. They were injured, but no one was killed.
Well, think about your two little kids.
No,
T-boned, roll over three times.
I want to make sure. No, I'm only trying to make it clear. I'm only trying to make it clear that it was not a homicide.
Well, the media they kept hammering that not life-threatening injuries, not life-threatening injuries. Well, I'd be pretty upset if my kids were ejected out onto the street by a drunk driver.
Okay, so this case is what is going on today.
I think a status conference. They keep kicking the can down the road.
Which would mean, what's a status conference?
Oh, they just talk about who knows what in whispered tones. He's due to be sentenced. I've been in contact with Judge Bannock. I've asked for a couple minutes to speak at the sentencing because I think the guy should get the maximum, which in this case is 2.5 to 5 years. That would make us safe.
In state prison or county prison?
In state prison. And they can send him to Chester where there's a drug and alcohol treatment facility. That would be good for him. That would be good for us.
All right. Thank you, Bill. That's
Thanks,
what time
Bobby.
is that going on right now? When is that?
It was at 9:30 this morning. I'm going to be going to the Pennsylvania Unified Judicial System website later today to find out what happened.
All right. Shoot me an email, would you, sir?
I will.
All right. Thank you, Bill
Thanks.
Villa.